How did you get the role?
I started acting when I was about 13, and I had a couple jobs before. And then for Under the Dome, I had an audition that I didn't even really want to do that much. And just because I was tired, and I told my mom, I was like, I have so much school, like I'm doing stuff, I'm busy, I don't want to do it. And I was just like being a brat. And she was like, come on, just do it, just do it. You're acting just like the character anyway. And I was like, okay, I'll try. And I was like, but I'm not going to do my hair or put on like nice clothes because she's on a car trip anyway. And she was like, okay, fine. And so I did the audition, and I got a call back. And then once I got the call back, I started actually like really working on it and taking it seriously. And then I think I had one more callback, and then over the course of a couple months, they would ask like, how tall is she available, what like.
They asked how tall you were?
Yeah, because
they didn't know, didn't remember?
No, because all of this was over tape also, keep in mind. The
okay.
auditions were recorded in my studio in my basement, and then we just like send them in on a viewing service, and so it was very like kind of an odd thing to send in 3 sort of recordings of yourself and then hear that you're going to be spending 6 months shooting a television show. It was just kind of like it all connected very strangely, but it was cool.
So were there live auditions too then?
For Nori?
Yeah, for Nori. Yeah,
I recorded scenes for the original audition. For the callback, I did the same scenes with notes from some of the producers. And then I can't remember if I had a third callback or not, but I never met with any producers or directors in person.
Really?
Yeah.
Let me ask you what your background was with Stephen King before this all happened. Were you a reader?
I'm not a reader in general, but my mom is, and she actually is an actress as well and did a movie for Stephen called The Mist. Yeah, so she was in The Mist. She played the main guy's wife, and she reads all the time, and so one day she came home and was like, oh yeah, I'm reading this book called Under the Dome, and this was years ago when it first came out, because she'll like literally pick stuff off the shelves like right as it lands there. And so she was talking, and I would go into her room every night, like after I finished my homework, and be like, okay, what's happening now in that book you're reading? And so I remember going into her room and having her be like, oh yeah, well they're running out of food now. Oh yeah, well they can't breathe. Yeah, this person just like ate this other person, and like, so I remember hearing like things about the book, and then it was familiar to me when I got the audition because of the title. So then it was cool because it's kind of like foreshadowing. And those 2 books are some of the only books that she's read by Stephen King, and both of us have done projects, either film or TV, for them. So I guess we should probably keep reading Stephen King.
I was going to say too, given Stephen King's proclivity for writing, i.e. he writes constantly, churns out things constantly, and he's still relatively young, 65 or so. Possibly you could have children who would be in yet another Stephen King project, so there could be 3 generations down the road somewhere.
I guess I should start reading then.
What was, I mean, I guess, did you have any thoughts about horror or, I mean, well, actually, what genre do you consider this to be? Fantasy, horror?
I would say it's definitely sci-fi, and maybe, fantasy horror, I guess, because it's got a lot of supernatural stuff. Maybe not horror, I don't think it's scary enough, but probably just like sci-fi fantasy kind of thing, so.
Were you drawn to that, I mean, not reading King, I know, but I mean, just drawn to it in any, like, either comic books or movies before that kind of?
Movies, well, my sister was on The Walking Dead, if any of you watched that. She played Sophia. And so our family's kind of like a...
So older, younger sister?
She's younger, she's 15. And so she was on that, so we've kind of been familiar with the sci-fi, and I've always loved movies that are like supernatural or have magic in them, like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. So that's always kind of been my genre. I've never really been one for like sitcom-y real life shows. So yeah, it kind of was a perfect fit.
You know what's interesting to me is, okay, you're a kid growing up and you're enamored of some of this, you love watching it, and then suddenly you're in a show like that. What's it like to kind of have the curtain pulled back and to realize how this is made versus what you saw when you were simply a viewer?
Well, been going on set for like a long time because my mom's an actress, so I was familiar with the way that set worked. But there's a lot of like terms and stuff that you just don't know what they are. So I remember being on my first day of set and having people say things to me, and like it might as well have been in Chinese. Like I was like, I honestly have no idea what you're telling me to do. But I was familiar with sort of like the protocol and what you do and don't do on set and stuff because my sister and my 2 younger brothers and my mom had all worked before I decided to get myself into it. So
you had some experience going in.
yeah, I wasn't completely a noob.
But it's still, there's a learning curve, right?
Oh, completely.
How long did it take for you to feel, shall we say, comfortable with going to work?
I tend to get nervous for like big scenes a lot, like even to this day, and we're going on our 3rd season this March. But that's just my personality that I just like really want to do a good job, so I kind of go in and psych myself out and whatever. But comfortable to, I guess honestly, it probably was the first week. Everyone on our show, our crew in North Carolina is stellar, and all of our execs, all of our cast, everyone is just amazing. So I kind of like instantly felt like I belonged there. So it was a good feeling. The first day was was scary though.
Well, I imagine just meeting all these people, some pretty well known.
And one of my first days was, the scene was easy, the scene part, because I didn't have to say anything. I was just like passed out with a seizure. But either my 2nd or 3rd day was the day that I had to shoot the seizure and actually do it. And it involved a stunt because I had to fall on the concrete. And I was like so nervous to do this scene. I was like sitting outside my trailer the whole day, just like, it's gonna be fine. Like, and I just remember being so scared. And then our stunt coordinator's awesome, and it was really fun. But it was you kind of had to really just be outside of yourself when you're forcing yourself to shake uncontrollably. It's a little odd, but you know.
So do you have any fear in filming any scenes then, or do you feel sort of in that comfort zone with, like you say, with the stunt coordinator?
No, I'm completely comfortable, and I go into this like mindset. Like whenever I'm at work, I'm very like in touch with what I'm doing, and it's very, I don't know, like I feel like I'm more comfortable there than I am in, like if I was to go to a party where I didn't know anyone, like being on set, working is like my place. So it's cool.
You've got lines, you know the character.
Oh, yeah.
You know who. And actually, I mean, what did you know about Nori going into it? I mean, how much did they tell you about her?
I knew that she had lesbian moms. I knew that she was from LA. I knew that she was very different from the book. And I also knew that she sort of might have a love interest with Colin Ford.
Different from the book how?
In the book, she is from Chester's Mill, and she has like a grandma or something, and she's Joe McAllister, played by Colin Ford's best friend. And they kind of run around, and Joe and Benny, Ben Drake, his friend, end up being the ones who find the source. And so in the show, I think it was originally supposed to go that way, and then Colin and I actually just had really good chemistry on some of the first episodes that we worked together, and we were really happy with the way our scenes went, where Joe and Nori kind of meet. And so I think they actually ended up changing the direction a little bit, and so now it's sort of, I don't know how far all of you have watched, but it's sort of Joe, Nori, Melanie, and now Hunter a little bit, are sort of like the dynamic four. But in the book, also there's just a lot of differences. Like Angie was dead on page 5, and